Hey everybody, Detective Fun Guy here. We're back with another Gene Circles paint tutorial. For this we have a Genestealer. Now the Genestealers are also for Tyranids, but we also have them for the Genestealer cults, and we're going to paint them at the purstrain Gene Circle paint scheme. So for this, it's basically just mostly three colors: blue, black, purple. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start off with the carapace. For this we're going to go all over base coat of Cantor Blue. So what we're going to do, shake out the paint like so. Take some Cantor Blue. So what we're going to do, we're going to take some Cantor Blue right here and put it in our palette like so. Basically what we're going to do is going to thin down the paint a little bit. Yes, there we go. Thin down a little bit so it goes on nice and smoothly. And the reason why I'm going to undercoat it with the base paint is so that way I can get a nice smooth finish. So I don't have to risk a overspray with the priming and stuff like that. Make sure to load the excess. What we're going to do is going to basically just start off our first base coat of Cantor Blue all over the carapace. Try to avoid the hands, feet, and head, but don't worry if you do, we're going to paint that later on. But just take your time. This will require probably two thin coats, but don't worry, it will be really worth the effort. So we got the back, arms, and also don't forget the underside right here. Always paint that. Alright, now with the base coat of Cantor Blue now dry, we are now going to shade the carapace. So basically for the carapace, all we just need is a dark wash. So we're going to use Nuln Oil. So if you don't want to use Nuln Oil, you could of course use Drakenhof Nightshade. I'm just using Nuln Oil because that's one of the many methods for it. And besides, it's quick. Shake up the wash really good. Okay. So for the Nuln Oil, basically, we're going to take some Nuln Oil, put it on our brush, and put it on our powder table. So what we're going to do, make sure that this is nice and consistent. So what we're going to do, look where the areas are, and just shade all over with Nuln Oil. And make sure it doesn't pull into recesses, like say like this vent, like right here. Just make sure it doesn't pull too much. And as you can see, we let the shade settle in the recesses for a little bit, wipe out the paint, and then just soak them up so there's no excess. Alright, that's the Nuln Oil applied. Alright, now with the Nuln Oil now dry, we're now going to highlight the carapace. So you could of course use edge highlights with a small fine brush like this, but I'm going to do a dry brush, a very light. So for this we're going to use Calidor Sky. So shake up the paint like so. Now of course you could use a Laytalk Blue and then use Hoth Blue and stuff like that, but no, I just wanted to use a quick dry brush so that way you can get them quickly on the table. So what we're going to do here, now let me find my dry brush. Here it is. Just make sure I find the right one. This is technically a makeup brush, but they're perfect for dry brushing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Calidor Sky, put it on our dry brush like so, and then basically what we're going to do is going to start wiping it off on some of the tissue paper right here. So what we're going to do right here. So when there's not much paint on the palette, we do need to keep the pot open just for a little bit. So what we're going to do, just focus on the ridges. So for right here, gently catching the areas. Just very gently, like right here. And if you think it's a little streaky, just wipe it off, and then just like that, see? See, as you can see, very light. And as you can see, it's catching the raised areas, but it's leaving the recesses that darker blue that we did earlier. And when it comes to a genestealer like this, you do need it to be a little subtle, so that way you don't really overbrighten it. We're going to go underneath the rib cage like so. And normally I would cut, but this is actually just a simple step that I'm just going to show. Alright, that's the Calidor Sky applied. Alright, with the Calidor Sky applied, we are now going to move on to our final dry brush of Caligar Blue. So if you want to go with the more vibrant blue, that's fine. But then again, the purstrain genestealers have more of a pale blue carapace on the edges. So what we're going to do, shake out the paint like so. So what we're going to do, take some Caligar Blue and basically just take it on the palette like so. And we're going to wipe off most of it. Wipe most of it off. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is this. So if you look on the edges, we're going to be very, very subtle. So what we're going to do, just focus on the edges and stuff like that. So what are you going to do? See if it's streaky? No, it's not. Okay. Then gently flick. Very lightly. Very, very light. As you can see right here. As you can see, just flicking it nice and even over the ridges and the finer edges gives a really nice tonal variation, but also a nice highlight. Alright, and that's the carapace done. Alright, with the carapace now finally done, we're going to start base coating the skin. So, for the skin of the miniature, basically it's a very dark purple gray for the most part for the base coat, so we're going to use Demonette Hide. So, check out the paints like so. So, Demonette Hide is more like a purple, but then again, it's more like a pale purple, so it has a subtle hint of gray in it. You can't really see it now, but you'll be able to see it later. Put it on our table right here. Or palette. I just use it as a palette or table, so. Thin down the paint a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Make sure it's nice and consistent. Basically, what we're going to do is going to focus where all the skin is. So try to avoid where you painted the carapace earlier on the head. So what we're going to do is going to base coat all around that. Try to be careful. But don't worry, if you get on that little carapace on his forehead, you can just go back and paint that later. And now that the Demonette Hide is all dry, we are now going to shade the miniature. For this, we're going to need a purple shade. For this, we're going to use Druchii Eye Violet. So, check out your Druchii Eye Violet like so. Let me move my paints out the way. So, what we're going to do is take some Druchii Eye Violet and just put it on the brush like so. We're going to apply it straight out of the pot. What we're going to do is going to apply it all over the miniature's skin. So for right here where we base coat with purple earlier, we're going to shade all over with Druchii Eye Violet. Now, it will turn into a vibrant purple, but don't worry, we're going to highlight it back to make it more like the pale purple gray that you see on genestealers. And don't forget the hands, as well as the feet. Okay, and that's the Druchii Eye Violet applied. Alright, now with our Druchii Eye Violet still out, I also painted some other genestealers off camera, the other pure strains. So as you may notice, I was painting the skull head variant, but you know, like for stuff. This is the regular variant with the head and the tongue, which as you could see, right here. But I've also painted the squid-looking face with the toxic tentacles on it. So without further ado, we're going to shade those as well. So basically, what we're going to do for this regular one is that basically the only real difference is that we just shade where everybody else would shade, you know, like where the jaw is, and stuff like that. Alright, now this one's shaded. And for the one with the squid face, basically we're going to do two different coats of shading. So along with all over his head, like as you can see, like for right here, we're also going to shade the tentacles with this, but we're going to go with a second coat over the tentacles. But first we're going to shade it like regularly. Alright, I'll be right back when the first coat dries. And with the first coat now done, we're going to basically just do a second coat all over the tentacles, like so. We're going to grab some more Druchii Eye Violet, and we're going to focus only on the tentacles, just the tentacles. That's it. Alright, that's the second tone done. Alright, now with the skin now shaded, we're going to start highlighting. Oops. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to highlight the details like usual. Let me get the right genestealer first. We are going to basically just going to highlight the skin. So for the skin, we're just going to apply a dry brush of Slaanesh Gray. So what we're going to do, check out the Slaanesh Gray. What we're going to do, check out the paint like so. So we're going to take our dry brush right here. I know it's a makeup brush, but make good dry brushes. So what we're going to do, wipe off most of the paint, or at least get some excess off on the table first. And then we're going to wipe off most of the paint on a paper towel and then dry brush very lightly. So let me do this off camera. Okay, so for when it comes to the actual face of the miniature, you could of course use layer paints, but I'm just going to use dry brushing so that way I can get the ridges first. As you can see, we're doing it very gently, but look, it has a soft build-up, and as you can see, it's highlighting, but it's also keeping the recesses the original color. So this on the hands, and as well as the feet as well of the genestealer. Alright, but the dry brushing now done, it's almost done. So if you may notice, the highlights on the head are kind of like streaky from the dry brush, so we're going to fix that right now. We're going to do it all over the head, so that way we can actually make it more solid. We're going to go back to Slaanesh Gray, and all we're going to do is going to start taking some paint out of the pot and put it on our table like so. Slaanesh Gray, of course. Perfect. Alright, make sure you thin this down with water. Make sure it's quite thin so that way, you know, it just doesn't, you know, clog up. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to layer all over this head of the skin. So right here. Look for the flat parts like right here. Also, be careful when you get like to the facial features like on the skull variation right here. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the eyes and the teeth. So like right here. Focus on the brow, the cheekbones, and don't worry, we'll fix this carapace once everything dries. May need at least 1 or 2 layers, but don't worry, that's completely fine. Just take your time. Alright, now with this skull-headed genestealer now done, so I actually have a surprise. I painted these two off camera, so that way I can show you the different head details that we got. For this one, this is just a standard purstrain. He has a lower jaw and tongue sticking out, and this one has a squid face, which is the toxin tentacles. So we're going to go on to the regular face first. Take some more Slanesh Gray, and we're going to put it on the palette and then thin it down again. So what we're going to do the same technique, but there is a jaw bone right here, like where the lower jaw is. Just paint that over with Slanesh Gray, and that's it. And avoid the recesses as well. Alright, that's the regular genestealer's head highlighted. Alright, and now we're going to focus on the one with the squid face. Basically, there's no mouth, so we just need to focus on the top of the head, like so. So, focus where like there's this big circumference area head, or the big exposed part, like right here. So what we're going to do, eye bones, and the rest of the head. There's also little bases of the tentacles right here. You want to paint that as well with Slanesh Gray. Just avoid these tentacles right here. More water so I can thin it down a little more. Alright, and that's the one with the squid face done. Alright, now with the layering now done, we're now going to focus on a little smaller detail, which is going to be the eye ridges. It's like for right here, the knuckles. So, with the wall Slanesh Gray is still wet, we're going to mix in a little bit of white scar. So what we're going to do, check out the white scar like so. So what we're going to do, put some white scar down. So we're going to take some white scar, and we're going to mix it a little bit with the Slanesh Gray. Perfect. Alright, let me close the pot and get it out of the way. Always make sure your brush is at a fine point. So what we're going to do right here. So if you look here on the raised areas, all we're going to focus on is the eyebrow for this. So if you look at the brow, and this part right here, there's a little bit of raised. So don't worry, just paint those in right now. Alright, that's that. Now for the squid face, all it is just the eye, it's just the brow. So what we're going to do right here, I'm going to highlight the brow. And for the regular head one, it's basically the same thing, just focus on the brow. Actually, my mistake, you also want to do the nose and the bottom jaw like so, or the chin. And if you want to with this detail, you can also go on the knuckles right here at the genestealer as well. Only on the hands, fingers, and feet. Alright, now with the skin now done, we're now going to focus on painting the claws. So for the claws in a miniature, it's just a simple application of black. So for this, we're going to use a Baden black. So we're going to use our fine brush again, so that way we have lots of control over this. Take some of a Baden black, put it down on the table, and thin it down like so. What we're going to do, like so. Thin it down. All we're going to do is this, going to paint in all the claws on the feet and hands. So for right here on his arms, there's a couple of big claws, tiny claws on his smaller arms, and there's also 4 claws on his feet, like including this dew claw right here. Just paint these in with a Baden black. Alright, and this is only for the one with the claws now done. This is the only one like for the tongue and the eyes, or the teeth. So we're going to base coat the teeth first. For the teeth, we're just going to use Morgoth's bone. So what we're going to do, check out the Morgoth's bone like so. We don't need much, just very, very little. I do take some Morgoth's bone. Right here. So what we're going to do is, right here, focus where the teeth are, like right here. You just want to gently, just barely touch them. See, as you can see right here. Like barely, barely touch them. There we go. Barely, barely touch them. There we go, and that's the teeth done. And for the tongue, we're just going to use a simple color of Screamer Pink. So what we're going to do, take some Screamer Pink. What we're going to do, take some Screamer Pink, like so, put it on the palette. We don't need much of this, but then I just like to have a good dollop just in case. So what we're going to do right here, just paint this all over the tongue like so. There we go, and that's the tongue done. And now the final detail that we're going to focus on with all the three genestealers is yellow. We're going to use Euro yellow for the eyes. So what we're going to do, take some Euro yellow, set it down like so. Put on the palette. We do need to thin this down a little bit because yellow is actually kind of thick and hard to paint. So what we're going to do, see where the yellow is, like for right here. Look for the eyes. You just want to dot this, not like a full on paint. So watch this. Just going to dot them in. Like that. And for the other side, just dot. See where the eyeball is right there? I'm just gonna dot. Dot. There we go. Alright, and that's the eyes, and that's the eyes finished. Alright, and that's all three of these genestealers done. So for this, we've been painting the skull variant. So we basically just focused on the skin, carapace, claws, and eyes. For the one with the squid face, or the toxic tentacles, we just did the same thing, but we left the tentacles blank so it has a separate color. And for the main one, which is the common variation, we just focused on basically the same technique, but basically the teeth and tongue is what makes this variant special. So, I really hope you enjoyed watching two tutorials on how to paint your purstrain genestealers, and I hope you all have fun painting them. I hope you happy painting. Bye bye.